Hi, I'm Matthew, your oracle and guide.
And I am Berdhanya, your teacher, and today we're going to talk about the fractal nature of the earth chakras. I would like to give you the image, start by giving you the image of the fractal. We know that the fractal is something that contains itself for infinity. So if you have a cup of tea and you look closer, there is another cup of tea, and there is another cup of tea, and there is another cup of tea. So it doesn't matter how deep you go, it goes through infinity. So it repeats perfectly itself. We see that in nature, in how the ferns and the sunflowers and everything is created fractally. So when we talk about the fractals in the subtle anatomy of the earth, we have to imagine that certain areas have, first of all, a radio. So they have a certain radio or distance or a circle, and within that circle there is contraction and expansion of these fractals. When you are located within that radio, you have the possibility of acquiring the sacred anatomy of that place. So you harmonize your own sacred geometry accordingly to your belief systems, accordingly to where you come from, accordingly to your cultural background, your lineage, etc. You have a geometry. You are a mandala. And that mandala is alive. You have a pulse, you have a melody, you have a resonance, you have a power, it has a possibility of creation, you have a vision. It's alive, it's intelligent. So when we enter the radio of the chakra or marma means a smaller representation or conjunction of energy in nature, marma or chakra, you enter that and your sacred geometry starts synchronizing that as you synchronize with another person, as you synchronize with any object that you bring in home. And that synchronization, that harmonization creates certain awakening within you. It changes your perception. So there are parts of the chakras on earth that are more in congruence with your sacred geometry. Therefore you feel more at ease. You feel, oh, this is the place I want to live. This is the place that I want to make friends. I want to come back to that place. And there are other places where it triggers something in you. It says, well, whatever you have obsolete, we cannot harmonize. So this is the transformative aspects of the earth chakras, where they're asking your own geometrical structure to harmonize. And harmonization means to create certain pulse, certain life rhythm that is cooperative, that have a link, that it feels at ease, that is relaxed. Of course, what doesn't make you relax is usually our tensions, our restrictions, our limitations, our rigidity, our judgments, that impede harmonization. It's like in two people in any relationship. So the harmonization is vital for us to create harmony at the planetary level, because we are the planet. Everything that the planet feels, we feel it. Anything that we feel it, the planet feel it. So if there are places that are not in harmony, you either will be inclined to visit certain places or dream about it, or some cultural interest, or a person that comes from that place comes into your life who has that geometry and interacts with you. So when we talk about the direct relationship with Earth as a being, as a person, then we can start seeing that this fractal nature of the chakra systems of the Earth are very, very important of how we see nature and how we see us in nature, how we see our own nature, and how Earth is really there supporting our own harmonization in the planet. So saying that, let's now ask Matthew what is the place of the Earth that you are taking us in this class, that we want to explore and have a little journey to see what is in there and how we can harmonize through this kind of ceremony, which, I mean, you do it so masterly, because it's just like you do it in 10-15 minutes, but to arrive to this moment of resume, you really have that incredible potency that is able through this media to invite us to get there in a very unique way. So Matthew, what is the part of the planet you're choosing today to explore?
What comes to mind is Vienna. Vienna in Austria. We've been there several times now, and historically it's always been the line between East and West. Centuries ago there were several invasions from the Turks. You know, the Muslim armies were stopped there at Vienna. And then more recently, that was the edge of the Iron Curtain, from communism to capitalism, you know. And so Vienna's always been that place for humanity, to the two forces interact there. I wouldn't even say interact, because Vienna is like, it's when we've been there and tried to connect with the place. It has an energetic dome over it. It's like a dome where nothing can penetrate from outside. But within that dome, it's extremely creative. you have all the great composers, the Mozarts and Bachs. There's something there that was.
It's very the mind is very stimulated. It's debates and creativity.
Then at the beginning of the 20th century, there was Carl Jung and Freud and Rudolf Steiner. They were all, and those cafes are still there. In Vienna, you can go and you can feel the energy of the place where all these great minds would meet and discuss. The modern psychology came from there, from Vienna. And then we have also visited right beside in Slovakia, and it's so different. The earth. I don't know. It's hard to say if it's just humanity or if it's the earth, but there's really no difference, because we are the thoughts of earth. We are the thinking of earth. Right beside in Slovakia, there's a very different. It's a different people, and many of them never been to Vienna.
And don't want to come to Vienna.
They don't want to come to Vienna. They live an hour away. And the people from Vienna have never been to Slovakia. They have they don't want to go. There's nothing there. It's like it's all so gray in their minds, It's that's just.
And what we can agree is that Vienna is a kind of a dome, as you say. It divides the two Europe and the other part, and at the same time it gathers energy in. So I'm really curious how, in our subtle research, what really we're going to find, and what you, as you are following us in this, what you find, and especially if you are from there and you are receiving certain emanations from that country, and see how this is harmonizing your own geometry.
Yeah, and so right beside in Slovakia, although the land is just so fertile and there's life coming out of the ground, When we went in the fall, there was just so many fruits falling from everywhere. The ground has a potency.
You're talking about Slovakia?
Yeah,
or
we're
Vienna?
talking about
Slovakia. Let's focus on Vienna. So,
but I wanted to show the contrast.
Yeah.
But the people in Slovakia think they have to go somewhere else to find it, to find prosperity. Although they have the potential, they believe they have to go somewhere else to find it. So many of the palaces and so on were made by people from the East, and but they're never accepted. They're never accepted in Austria. They're always outsiders. They're okay if they come to work, but then,
Mm-hmm.
So that it's that exclusivity, that dome, which is we have. Last time we went, we gathered some people from there, and we did manage to we did a little ceremony, remember? And we did manage to bring the energy down within the dome.
And that's the other thing, that the dome is it enhances the ideas, it enhances the debate, the intellectual debate, but as you say, to really go down and touch the real earth, the expression, the materialization, or to awake a certain vocation that is spread worldwide, so planetary, is more difficult. Everything remains in Vienna, and the ideas or the potential that can have or is for the planet, it remains unexpressed in a way, because it's more in the sky. It's more the ideas of the sky.
Yeah, it's the mental realm.
It's the mental realm, yeah. And the people are in that.
People are in that. They're in the mental realm.
Yeah, they are in the head. They are the incredible, brilliant minds and music and everything. The inspiration is highly in Vienna. You go there and you feel energized.
Yeah, but it's the energy of sky.
Yeah.
It's the energy of...
so this balance of that harmonization between the earth and the sky is not there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and again, the contrast between the people to the east in Slovakia, they're very much grounded. They're very much earth, you know, and we found more openness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, let's do our little ceremony. So if you guys can sit comfortably and accompany us just with your visualization. It's not really any effort on it. You have to trust that the transmission is there, and that it's up to you to tune in or not.
So with the back straight, sit very comfortably, get in a comfortable position, and with the spine straight, take a deep breath. And exhale. Feel yourself relaxing. Inhale again, and then exhale out a sound. Imagine now that in front of us is a spinning disc. It's mauve and yellow. There's mauve squares and yellow squares, and they're spinning. And that disc itself is spinning like almost like on a string, and it's just going through the space, you know. So it's spinning, but it's also twirling on this large string. Almost like it's caught in the wind. But it's spinning. It's independent, in spite of where it is in the bigger picture. So we enter into this spinning disc. find a three-sided pyramid shape, but we only see the points of it, the 4 points, the 3 at the base and the 1 at the top. And then this three-sided pyramid falls on its side, on one of the sides, and then it opens up like opening up dials that are like on a circle, like a clock that just opens up. And then, as one of the dials rotates, it becomes like a radar screen. And we see 2 dots on the radar screen, and they're moving outward. There's a big one and a little one. And it looks like the larger one is following the smaller one. And now we're in space, watching the same scene of the larger sphere following the smaller sphere. And as the larger sphere approaches the smaller sphere, it's 2 opposite forces that repel. When the energy field approaches the smaller one, the smaller one bounces away. They're like 2 positive forces that can't join, because it's 2 positive forces. One repels the other. And so as it appeared that the larger sphere was chasing the smaller sphere, it's really not the case. It's the larger sphere which is propelling the smaller sphere forward by that force of repelling. So as it approaches, the smaller one bounces further away. But although there are two positive forces in the larger sphere and smaller sphere, they're rotating around one another, but they can never connect. They can never become one. But they're interacting. They're somehow caught in the same orbiting around one another. And we can't, although we observe the way they're rotating around one another, we can't see what that force is that is keeping them rotating around one another. But they seem to be both in a larger sphere, which is transparent, which is containing the two, so they can never get too far from one another, because they're contained within this larger sphere, which is invisible to the eye, but it's there as a force field. So it's these two positive forces within this larger sphere. And now we imagine that if we can imagine these two spheres within the larger sphere, the movement that they're making as they repel one another, we imagine the geometry of it. If we trace that movement that they're making, and imagine the lines between every movement creates a line, and there's a greater geometry that they're creating. If we can imagine that geometry that they're showing us, these two positive spheres within the larger sphere, imagine the geometry they're creating. There's every possible geometric shape contained there. It's infinite. It starts with the pyramid, and then an inverted pyramid, the Star of David. And from there it just expands to all different geometric shapes. So it's really It's really the fractal.
That were interesting findings.
Well, fascinating, because I think that greater sphere that's transparent, that was containing the two smaller spheres, is what we're talking about, Vienna, and it's the nature of thought, where it just bounces. There's two positive forces repelling one another, and it's bouncing and creating. And the reason you can't penetrate because of that, and it's the reason it can't manifest is because there's no negative.
Yeah, which led me to the fact that each place will attract the kind of people from different fractal background to try to harmonize. Like if we see, because the place cannot sustain that for a longer period of time. At one point it will need the counterpart to maintain aliveness, otherwise it will destroy itself. So winds of migration from other cultures or invasions, or you have a wave, a movement that can get a peak of creation, because it's a creative center definitely, and the gods at the peak, and then you have this incredible minds flourishing in there, and then they decline. And immigration comes and wash things out, trying to balance it. Even among that dome, it needs certain refreshment, and the refreshment is right beside, which is the earth part, the grounding part, the Slovakian area. All that part is offering that containment in a larger scale, because it's the dome, and then around is all earth that is contained. It's not inside, but is around. Otherwise, it cannot.
Well, it was the disc itself at the beginning was just spinning in space, but it was hooked onto something.
Right. It
was free to spin and to go wherever it wanted, but it was still connected even by a thin thread.
Yeah.
And as we know, to create the real forces of creation, to create in the third dimension, it takes a positive and a negative that are interacting. It takes the friction between the two to create magnetism, which creates the third dimension.
The form.
It creates form. But in this instant, there's two positive forces. So the mind is just free to go wherever it wants within that sphere. It's extreme creativity. It's like, like the great composers, the music is just like, there's not necessarily like the bum 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 bum. The black nation's got no input at all in there. There's not even a sustaining. Well, there is perhaps like a wisdom, a rhythm in it, but it's just so sky. It's like you're not compelled to dance to these great compositions. It's because you just want to sit and listen to it and be taken by it,
Yes.
And it's,
yes. But it's important in this class to realize that in that fractal composition of every part of Earth, you may need to go there in order to unground yourself if you are way too focused in the heaviness, or in the positive way or negative way. If you are too negative and you lack inspiration, or you are too much on the factual things and your creativity is somehow locked in, Vienna is a great place to visit, or this area, knowing that geometry will harmonize, and to get over the first impact that, oh, I don't like to be here, the energy is way not in agreement with you, but what is it you need? So is something that we can relate differently with the different places of Earth. That is not that I don't like this culture or I like this culture. So we all need, in order to leave the planet and to be in the planet and to become the planet, we need to have all the geometry complete. We have to be at peace with all the geometries that are existing in different chakras and marma points of the planet. So I leave you with this class, and again, if you are listening to us and live in certain place and wish to for us to energetically visit your place and see what is the energy, just send us a note and we'll be happy to have a class about that. I thank you for your contribution, because by sitting with us in such a presence, you are contributing to harmonize your own geometry, and with that the geometry of your community, your family, your city, and eventually the planet. Thank you again for listening for us, and we'll see you in the next class. Bye.
Thank you.